Well, it's the start of a new year, and many of us have resolutions that we want to achieve and strive for in the coming 12 months. The UN's no different, only their goals are for not just for the year ahead, but for the next 15 years. In September of 2015, the UN gathered all the countries of the world together to help bring peace, equality, and general goodness to the world by creating goals in order to build a better place for all 7 billion of us on the planet. Like the Millennium Development Goals before it, these 17 goals are humanity's long-term projects for the next 15 years. The first one's pretty tough. But goal number 1 is zero poverty. This may seem like a daunting task, but the UN has decided to break each goal into several miniature ones, such as getting rid of extreme poverty, which is people living under less than $1.25 a day everywhere, making sure that people have equal rights to economic freedoms, and making sure that everyone is not vulnerable to serious economic turmoil, all by 2030. Goal 2 is to end hunger for everybody, making sure everyone has enough food to eat as well as getting the proper nutrition, particularly for pregnant and nursing mothers and children by 2030. But by 2020 is to be able to maintain the variety of plants and animals that we eat and making sure that no distortions to agricultural trade happen, so no one's paying any more than they have to in order to get the food that they need to grow and be healthy. Goal 3 is health. This includes reducing infant mortality rates to less than 70 per 100,000 live births, ending the epidemics of malaria and AIDS and tuberculosis, as well as reducing the abuse of drugs and alcohol, and making sure that everyone has access to sexual health and family planning, as well as access to general and equitable healthcare financially. Goal number 4 is lifelong learning and education. Above lowering the illiteracy and numeracy rates, it also entails providing free primary and secondary education, as well as eliminating the disparities that exist within them, giving all people the opportunity to go further in education, like going to university or vocational training. Goal 5 is gender equality. It's pretty self-explanatory, ending all discrimination towards women and create ways to empower them. Make sure that women and girls get access to all the things that they need to have good lives. Out of Goal 5 is intertwined with all the other ones, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it's still just as important. Goal 6 is water. Everyone needs access to clean water in the world. Ending pollution of clean water sources and making sure that water access is efficient and restoring water-related ecosystems in lakes and rivers are the main tenets of this goal. Goal number 7 is energy, specifically to make it affordable and clean, as well as getting rid of our dependence on fossil fuels, making renewable energy more economically viable and profitable, as well as helping to pass on that technology to smaller and or less developed states. Number 8 is economic stability and growth, to be able to sustain global growth at 7% a year with more productive economies throughout the world, ending forced labor such as slavery and human trafficking, and giving people good financial institutions and protecting labor rights and promoting environmentally sustainable economic growth. 10 is reducing inequalities. Similar to gender equalities, only this one's more for minorities such as ethnic minorities, disabled people, sexual minorities, things like that. It's just to make sure that everyone, no matter what their race, their gender, their sexuality is, that they are able to have all the rights and privileges that the majorities have, and to make sure that the majority groups don't take those privileges away. Number 11 is cities, making sure people aren't homeless and that people have access to better homes, even in poor or rural areas. Better transportation and giving cities the capacity to expand but still being sustainable, as well as maintaining their cultural heritage. Goal 12 is for food consumption. It's to make sure that we grow and eat our food responsibly. By 2030, halving food waste and making sure that companies use sustainable methods in all parts of production, from farm to plate, as well as making sure that our waste is disposed of in a friendly manner and helping to create jobs that are able to maintain these sustainable practices forever. Goal 13, 14, and 15 are protecting the environment, protecting against climate change, water resources, and land resources, respectively, and making sure that all buildings and people are going to be able to be resilient to climate change, keeping the oceans and land clean and pollution-free, and ending overfishing and poaching by 2020, to be able to conserve 10% of all marine and coastal habitats, and ensure the protection of freshwater and terrestrial areas, as well as halting deforestation by 2030. And finally, reducing desertification and habitat loss in terrestrial areas. Goal 16 is peace, justice, and their institutions, being able to reduce violent crimes and deaths, ending abuse of all peoples, strengthening global institutions, and giving people equal access to justice, as well as ending corruption and finding ways of mitigating organized crime and terrorism, all by 2030. The final goal is to make sure that every country is able to work on these goals and not let their short-term interests get the better of them, like not exploiting developing countries and providing support to them in the forms of technology and finance, as well as encouraging joint public, private, civil, and governmental partnerships in order to realize these goals. Well, that's all 17. It's quite a hefty lot, but I think we can do that in 15 years. If all the world works together and is able to help each other one step at a time, I think we got this in the bag.